Most rugged phones claim to be unbreakable. They show you drop tests, dump them in water, throw around military certification numbers, and then 6 months into real field use, the screen cracks, the charging port gives out, or the battery swells and the phone is done. So the real question was never which rugged phone survives a controlled lab test. It was which ones actually hold up when the conditions are brutal, the days are long, and replacing your device is simply not an option. That is exactly why I put 4 rugged phones through the only test that actually matters: real lifetime durability. And what I've found will completely change how you think about buying a rugged phone. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will know exactly which phone deserves a place in your pocket and which ones are just marketing dressed up in a tough-looking shell. Let us get into it. Starting off at number 4 is the Oukitel WP210. Launched in mid-2025, the Oukitel WP210 is a high-performance 5G rugged smartphone designed to bridge the gap between heavy-duty industrial devices and modern flagship-style phones without losing its core focus on durability. Let us start with the hardware, because this is where the WP210 immediately separates itself from most rugged phones in this category. It is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 8200, a 4nm octa-core processor reaching up to 3.1 GHz. This is a true upper-tier chip, fast, efficient, and more than capable of handling demanding apps, heavy multitasking, and day-to-day performance without hesitation. It is paired with 12 GB of RAM and 512 GB of storage, giving you a fully loaded setup with no real compromises on speed or space. The display is a 6.7-inch AMOLED panel with FHD Plus resolution at 1080 by 2412 and a 120 Hz refresh rate. This is still rare in the rugged category, and it makes a real difference. Colors are richer, contrast is deeper, and everything from scrolling to app navigation feels noticeably smoother compared to standard rugged LCD panels. It is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 5, and the under-display fingerprint sensor keeps the front clean and modern. Now the battery. 8,800 mAh with 45-watt fast charging and 10-watt reverse charging. And this is one of its strongest practical advantages. You are not stuck waiting hours for a full charge. The 45-watt support makes top-ups much more usable in real-world conditions, especially for people who are always on the move. On the camera side, you get a 108-megapixel Samsung main sensor, paired with a 32-megapixel Sony front camera. In daylight, the main camera delivers sharp, detailed images that go beyond what most rugged phones typically offer. The selfie camera is also solid for calls, documentation, and outdoor use. The secondary macro and depth sensors are present, but they add limited real-world value compared to the main setup. For durability, the WP210 carries IP68, IP69K, and military standard 810H certification. That means full protection against dust, water immersion, high-pressure jets, and drop resistance up to 5 feet, making it properly ready for real-world abuse rather than just marketing claims. It is built with an aluminum alloy frame and reinforced corners, giving it strong impact resistance while still keeping a relatively slim profile for a rugged device. It also ships with Android 15 out of the box, which is a plus for long-term usability and security support. Now the honest limitations. The AMOLED display, while excellent indoors, peaks at around 500 nits of brightness. That means in harsh direct sunlight, visibility can become noticeably reduced. And while still photography performs well, video stabilization is not its strongest area, so handheld motion shots can appear shaky during movement. Coming in at number 3 is the Doogee S300 Plus Thermal. Released in 2026 as a flagship rugged device, it is designed from the ground up for industrial professionals, search and rescue teams, and extreme adventurers who need reliable performance when everything else fails. The processor is the MediaTek Dimensity 8020, a 6nm octa-core chip delivering solid 5G performance without noticeable throttling under sustained load. It is paired with 12GB of LPDDR4X RAM, with virtual expansion up to 32GB for heavier workloads, and 512GB of UFS 3.1 storage. Fast, stable, and more than enough for large volumes of field data, thermal footage, and documentation without constant management. The display is a 6.58-inch FHD plus IPS LCD running at 120 Hz. It is smooth, sharp, and responsive in most conditions. The honest limitation is brightness. At around 480 nits, direct harsh sunlight will reduce visibility compared to higher brightness AMOLED panels used in premium rugged devices. Battery capacity is 10,800 mAh, a serious endurance figure that supports long field deployments without frequent charging. The camera system includes a 50-megapixel Samsung main sensor for clean daylight imaging, a 24-megapixel night vision camera powered by dual IR LEDs for full darkness capture, and a 32-megapixel front camera for clear communication in professional settings. The device is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, adding strong resistance against scratches and impact pressure. Durability is fully certified with IP68 and IP69K ratings, meaning water resistance up to about 5 feet for 30 minutes and resistance against high-pressure water jets. It also meets military standard 810H standards, covering extreme temperature shifts, altitude stress, and drop resistance from up to 5 feet onto hard surfaces. The standout feature is the InfiRay Tiny 1C thermal imaging sensor. This is a dedicated thermal system, not a basic software effect, operating at 25 Hz with a detection range from -13 degrees Fahrenheit up to 1022 degrees Fahrenheit. It enables real applications like heat loss detection, electrical fault identification, overheating equipment monitoring, and locating people or animals in complete darkness through body heat signatures. The thermal system pairs with the night vision camera to create a full low-light operational toolkit. When visibility drops to 0, thermal identifies the heat source, and night vision provides visual confirmation without using a visible flash that could compromise safety or operations. The only real limitation is a brief calibration pause every few minutes as the thermal sensor resets its baseline. In general use, it is barely noticeable, but in fast-paced, time-critical field scenarios, it is something to be aware of. Starting at $490, the S300 Plus Thermal is purpose-built for situations where standard equipment fails, delivering a level of specialized capability that directly supports real-world professional field operations. Coming in at number 2 is the Ulefone Armor 29 Ultra. Designed for extreme industrial environments and long-term survival scenarios where standard devices simply do not belong. Starting with the processor, the Ulefone Armor 29 Ultra packs the MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus, a 4nm flagship-level chip pushing up to 3.4 GHz that sets a new bar not just within the rugged category, but by any smartphone standard. It is paired with 16GB of LPDDR5X RAM, expandable virtually up to 32GB, ensuring smooth multitasking even under heavy workloads. Storage sits at 1 TB, extremely fast and spacious enough for years of field data, recordings, and project files without limitation. The display setup is one of its standout traits. The front features a 6.67-inch AMOLED panel at 120 Hz, with a peak brightness of 2200 nits, making it easily readable even in direct sunlight. On the rear, a 1.04-inch AMOLED secondary display handles notifications, quick checks, and selfies without flipping the device. The camera system pushes far beyond typical rugged phone expectations. The main sensor is a 50-megapixel Sony IMX989 1-inch sensor, delivering professional-grade light capture, dynamic range, and low-light performance. It is supported by a 64-megapixel night vision camera, capable of seeing in complete darkness, and a 50-megapixel ultra-wide lens for environmental and site-level documentation. On the rear, a 570 LED lighting array delivers up to 1,000 lumens of output, functioning as a full work light, emergency beacon, and portable illumination system built directly into the phone. Durability is fully certified with IP68 and IP69K ratings, plus military standard 810H testing across extreme environmental conditions. Reinforced corners and a metal frame allow drop resistance up to 6.5 feet, while Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protects the main display against scratches and impact. Charging is handled by 120-watt fast-wired support, delivering extremely quick top-ups for such a large battery. However, there is no wireless charging, a notable omission at this price tier and specification level. Now the honest trade-off, and it is significant. At 1.5 pounds and 34 millimeters thick, this is not a pocket-friendly device. It requires dedicated carry solutions like a holster or gear pouch, making it more of a field instrument than a casual smartphone. Combined with a price range of $949 to $999, it clearly sits in a professional-grade category that only makes sense if the workload justifies it. Positioned at number 1 is the Tank 4 Pro. Tank 4 Pro is an industrial-grade megaphone built like heavy equipment in your pocket, combining extreme rugged durability with a built-in projector and a massive battery designed to last up to a full week on a single charge. The processor is the MediaTek Dimensity 8200, a 4nm 5G chip delivering strong high-performance computing without throttling under sustained load. 16GB of LPDDR5 RAM keep multitasking smooth and responsive, even under heavy application loads. Storage sits at 512GB of UFS 3.1, with microSD expansion up to 2 TB, giving more than enough space for field recordings, project files, and media without storage management concerns. The display is a 6.79-inch FHD Plus panel running at 120 Hz, sharp, fluid, and responsive for mapping, documentation, and communication across a full working day. Cameras cover every condition you're likely to encounter. The main shooter is a 200-megapixel Samsung ISOCELL HP3 sensor, delivering extremely high-resolution capture for detailed fieldwork. A 64-megapixel infrared night vision camera handles complete darkness with clarity that most dedicated night vision systems would struggle to match. An 8-megapixel telephoto lens brings in distant detail, while a 50-megapixel front camera supports professional communication and field video calls from anywhere. Battery is 23,800 mAh, one of the largest capacities ever placed in a smartphone. In real-world field use, that translates to up to a week of operation, depending on workload. And when charging is needed, 120 watts of fast wired charging takes it from empty to full in roughly 90 minutes, removing one of the biggest frustrations in high-capacity devices. Durability carries the full industrial certification set. IP68 and IP69K ratings provide full waterproof protection and resistance to high-pressure water jets, while military standard 810H testing covers drops, extreme temperature changes, and sustained vibration. Now, the features that make the Tank 4 Pro genuinely different. A built-in DLP projector delivers up to a 120-inch projection at 100 lumens with autofocus and keystone correction, turning any flat surface into an instant display for briefings, training, or field presentations without additional equipment. Dual rear LED camping lights produce nearly 1,200 lumens of combined output, with adjustable lighting modes, including emergency strobe functionality for signaling. Price sits between $529 and $549, placing it firmly in a strong value position for the level of industrial capability it delivers. And now you have seen how far each of these rugged phones can actually go when everything is on the line. Some impressed, some cracked under pressure, and a few proved they are in a completely different league when it comes to durability. If this helped you separate real toughness from overhyped claims, make sure you stay locked in for more real-world tests like this. Like, share, and subscribe so you do not miss the next comparison that could save you from making the wrong choice. Drop a comment and tell us which phone surprised you the most and what you want to see pushed to its limits next.